Elizabeth Bathory is considered a very intelligent and beautiful person, but she is famous in Hungarian history for her cruel personality and sick taste. She tortured and killed more than 600 young girls, then bathed their blood in order to maintain her beauty. To this day, people still shudder whenever her story was mentioned again. Beautiful, smart, but cruel. Elizabeth Bathory was born on August 7, 1560, to the oldest and richest aristocracy in Hungary. Unlike other women of her time, Elizabeth received a good education, so her intelligence even surpassed that of all men of the time. Thanks to her intelligence and inherent beauty, Countess Elizabeth was once considered the most talented woman in Europe and was noticed by many noble boys. However, deep inside, Elizabeth harbors terrifying cruelty. According to history, when Elizabeth was still a child, she had once a headache. Her family members then cut open a live pigeon and placed it on her forehead. This was the first time she was exposed to and treated with fresh blood, so she was very interested in this method. A little older, Elizabeth had a habit of teasing the maids by biting their hands so hard that they bled and cried out in pain. These monstrous games always terrified the servants. As she got older, she became known as smart and beautiful, but also became more evil. Her rich imagination helped Elizabeth come up with many tricks to torture others. In the eyes of everyone, she's no different from a demon, just always harming others. Torture others, the Countess' pastime. Elizabeth Bathory was engaged at the age of 11, and 4 years later, at the age of 15, she married Count Nassadi Ferenc. Because her husband had to go to war often, Elizabeth had to find entertainment for herself. She had many lovers, but her greatest passion was still torturing others. Elizabeth was an extremely creative person in torture. She sought pleasure by beating and mutilating her victims. She was also famous throughout the Middle Ages for a murder device called the Virgin Machine. Accordingly, the virgin girls would be thrown into a hollow statue, then shut down the door with a series of sharp dagers behind them, using virgin blood to nourish the skin. In her 40s, Elizabeth realized that her skin started to wrinkle. Once, when the mat hurt her while brushing her hair, she was so angry that she slapped the mat's face so hard that the mat bled. When the blood was on her hand, Elizabeth felt that the skin there seemed bright again. So the idea of using blood to nourish the skin began to appear. She thought that a few drops of mat's blood could have the effect like that. If she could find the blood of beautiful virgins, this transformation could be miraculous. From there, her people secretly kidnapped the girls around, tricked them into recruiting servants to bring them into the castle, or opened an academy specializing in training beautiful girls. And of course, the girls who come here don't have any chance to return. In her castle, virgins would be stripped naked, beaten, then dragged to a bathtub, where their arteries were cut to take blood. Unforgiven crime. Elizabeth became more and more frantic. She kidnapped noble virgins because she thought that their blood would be more effective. Finally, the truth has been exposed. After a bloodbath, the Countess carelessly dumped the bodies of 4 victims outside the castle. The people around began to suspect and began to investigate the mysterious disappearance of the girls over the years. When the King of Hungarian knew the news, he asked people to search the basement of Elizabeth's castle. On the night of December 30, 1610, a group of people broke into her castle and discovered a creepy scene. A young girl lying dead on the floor, many girls in custody, and along with many other dead bodies in the cellar. The trial was opened a few days later, and 3 of her accomplices were executed by torture to death. As for Elizabeth, because of being a member of the royal family, She only received a life sentence. She was locked in her own castle in a small, dark room, but she never regretted her sins. 4 years later, she died at the age of 55. That's all for today's video. Goodbye and see you soon.